What would happen if all the oceanic water turns into drinkable water? Does it make any difference? This is Mr. Curious Mind. Answers all your curious questions. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Let's get started. While nearly 70% of the world is covered by water, only 2.5% of it is fresh. The rest is saline and ocean-based. Even then, just 1% of our freshwater is easily accessible, with much of it trapped in glaciers and snowfields. If all the water on Earth suddenly turned into fresh water, all the organisms, from microorganisms to fish and all oceanic plants adapted to seawater, would die. The global ecosystem would collapse, and the oceans and atmosphere would eventually revert to their composition before the evolution of photosynthesis. All of the organisms in the sea are adapted to saltwater. If they were suddenly immersed in freshwater, too much water would diffuse into their bodies and they would die. Not only have those organisms been destroyed, but massive amounts of carbon dioxide and methane have been released into the atmosphere. Almost no oxygen and lots of carbon dioxide. The only life left on Earth would be remnants in the ocean that could survive the change. But anything but microorganisms would die due to collapse of the food chain. And a few terrestrial plants. Most terrestrial plants depend on some kind of interaction with animals to maintain ecological balance, and so those would eventually die out. If life on Earth could survive at all, it might take anywhere from 50 million to a billion years for a new ecological equilibrium to evolve. To understand an easy way, it takes around 50 million years or even more to fresh water to become salt water again. Minerals from the Earth's crust would immediately start dissolving into the oceans, and particulate matter would also enter the oceans, and seafloor oceanic vents would pump minerals into the water, so the fresh water of the oceans would immediately start to turn non-fresh again. But not fast enough. If you remove all the salt in the oceans, make it as a building, it would reach a height of 60-story building. Almost 4 billion years ago, all the water in the oceans was fresh. But as the time passed by, volcanoes erupted and released a countless and huge amount of magma and hot gases, which contained chlorine, bromine. Chlorine fell into the ocean water in the form of acid rain, in reaction with the acids in the surface of Earth, which released high amounts of calcium, magnesium, and potassium, and they got reacted with each other and created salt. There are over 22,000 ocean creatures that need both salt and fresh water, and over 230,000 known species which need ocean water to live. If they suddenly come into fresh water, the huge amount of fresh water gets into their bodies and sucks out salt inside the fish which they are habituated to, and after it they die because of lack of salt and oxygen in the fresh water. Water is life and no one can survive without water. Although the percentage of water on Earth is more than the land, most of it is salty water, and only a certain percentage consists of fresh drinking water. But due to rising global warming, the seawater level is rising and it is getting mixed with freshwater, causing its quantity to decrease. Without salt, there is very less mass to the oceanic water, and it leads to earthquakes inside the oceans, and earthquakes in the oceans leads to tsunami. If you ask me, Earth will stay healthy with the salt water in the oceans. We also invented the machine which changes the ocean water to drinkable water, but it is too expensive to make 1 glass of salt water to drinkable water, because the salt in the machines will be stuck and need a huge maintenance, and often need to get replaced with new machinery. But as the time passed by, there are a lot of experiments and tests went on how to make fresh water without hurting the ocean and its marine life. In 2017, a British scientist invented the world's first graphene desalination filter, and in 2018, students in Texas University and Australian University proposed a new fundamental technological process using organometallic frame membranes. In Canadian and Australian scientists went even further by introducing their process, which is desalination of seawater by solar energy. They only needed just 1 kilowatt of energy. Yes, it is true that we need a huge and advanced technology to make the ocean water drinking water. But if you ask me, it is better to not interfere with the ocean, because oceans may result in huge consequences if something goes wrong. As we are today, we should save as much as water we can for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren by not getting worried about where to get fresh water. And what do you think of it? Let us know in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit that like button, and also hit that subscribe button to never miss one of the most interesting videos from Mr. Curious Mind. Have a nice day.